Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Galactic Core podcast, the best podcast in all of history. Of course, it's this one. Maybe there's another podcast sitting right next to me in the studio that might disagree. Maybe they think theirs is slightly better, and I wouldn't disagree with them.
I agree. Galactic Core is
no, not quite. Not quite. I don't think the Apple and Spotify rankings have me quite that high just yet. So, but welcome back to the show, everyone. 2 nights in a row, you get the Galactic Core podcast. Aren't you lucky fuckers all at home getting to watch this? 2 nights in a row. We were here last night, weren't we, JD? So we had the big second anniversary episode of the Galactic Core podcast, 2 years of the show. 5 different podcasts came together to do the show last night. So it was obviously myself, So Sidious, Lights Camera Rant, Krypton to Order 1, Clan Brandalorian, all big friends of the show. You've all seen them before. They were here. We had a really fun time. I really enjoyed it last night, JD. Thank you for being part of that, buddy.
I had a blast, dude. All the topics were so fun. It makes me want to talk to you about Goku versus Superman. I'll leave that up to you. But man, from the verse battles to the quizzes to the favorite scenes, yeah, that was just a really fun episode. It was one hell of a way to celebrate a second year.
Absolutely, it was amazing. You can catch the live episode on YouTube and Twitch right now. If you prefer catching up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, that kind of places, it will be out on Tuesday, around about lunchtime my time, early first thing in the morning if you're over the waters in America. So you can obviously catch it then. But we're here today to be chatting about Daredevil Born Again episodes 7 and 8. Before we get to that, though, JD, tell us what's going on with Why So Sidious at the moment.
Yeah, we are at Why So Sidious Pod on all the major platforms. We've been covering a ton of Daredevil, including a bunch of comic book background, which like the introduction of Muse and Charles Soule's run, which leads to Fisk becoming mayor, which leads to Zdarsky's run, which leads to Devil's Reign. All this stuff that is being heavily influenced or into this show, right? Even though it's titled Born Again, it feels much more like this era of Daredevil, which was early 2020s, I believe. But covering a ton of that stuff and, of course, some nerd news here and there. But yeah.
Nice. I believe that for the finale of Daredevil Born Again, you've got an amazing guest coming on.
I think I've heard of a potential guest that might appear on this. And his name might be Amy. No, it's her husband. It's her husband. I think.
That's right. Yes, it's me. It's me. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to be just a shameless plug for the both of us, to be fair. But yeah, next week after the finale of Daredevil Born Again, I'll be jumping on with you guys to chat through it because you guys know I'm a huge Daredevil fan, huge Punisher fan, and I can't wait to chat about it with a bunch of you. To be fair. We're obviously here to discuss Daredevil. We agreed sort of last minute really to jump in and do this together because I kind of hate doing episodes by myself, even though I'm happy to do it. Always more fun to have someone chatting to chat about it with, especially someone who enjoys it. So I really appreciate you jumping on to do that. Obviously, you'll find all the links for our social medias down in the episode description, so make sure you're jumping on, following Why So Sidious. They've got their merch store as well, but obviously head over and make sure you're following them and listening to all their episodes. They've got good few years now backlog that you can go and listen to. Nerd therapies, nerd octagons, character stuff, comic stuff. Make sure you're following them on TikTok as well. JD's doing a fantastic job over on TikTok as well. It's in the thousands of followers now. Puts me to shame because I'm a lazy git when it comes to promoting on social media. I think I'm still in double digits, to be fair. It's been a while since I posted over on that side of it. I seem to be on like Instagram and some of the others a bit more than I am TikTok these days. Anyway, but I should get my ass in gear and get promoting and start chasing you guys down in terms of the numbers. So, but you can see at the bottom of the screen there where you can follow the Galactic Core podcast: YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, Apple, anywhere that you get your podcasts. Basically, hit us up on there. Before we jump into this week's episodes, though, or the last 2 weeks' episodes, I should say, it is, of course, a Marvel review. That means we are here to play the most pointless game in podcast history. So we're going to crack on and have a good old game of MCU or real life you. Now, if you've never seen this game before, it is the most pointless game in podcast history. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give JD an MCU character, the real life actor that plays him. and one of his co-hosts, David or Caleb. And he's going to tell me who he'd rather spend the day with. What he does on that day is completely up to him. Going to theme parks, going to dinner, just having a good old chat, committing some crime. It's completely up to him what he gets to do for that day, but he's got a pick. And I hope that his fellow podcast hosts, if they don't get picked, get jealous, because I love stirring up the pot a little bit just with this show. It's a bit of fun just for me, really. But it is Daredevil we're talking about, so this is going to be Daredevil-based people and actors from the MCU. So we're going to go in with a big one to start with, because I got criticised a little bit for not giving someone else a choice of the big characters and giving them side characters. So I'm going to sort of, it's unfair on them, but it's great for you, JD, because you get some of the big hitters again. So, so who would you rather spend the day with? Would you rather spend the day with Charlie Cox, Matt Murdock, or David Cochran?
Okay, so David would be a safe bet because we're good friends. I know we'd have a good time. We'd go backpacking. We'd have some good laughs. We might fish even. Who knows? I mean, it'd be a guaranteed solid time, but, I've done it before and we'll do it again. So I'm going to have to go with Charlie Cox. I don't want none of that Daredevil drama, which, God, the MCU is playing more into his life becoming a disaster, much like the comics. So I'd like to avoid that. Charlie Cox seems like a delightful person, and that's an easy pick. Yeah, sorry, Dave, but you understand. I'll see you next month. Maybe we do live far away.
He's just texted me. He says you're fired from the podcast. Sorry. No, it's a fair bet. Oh, Charlie Cox is a good guy. I should always say as well, though, it doesn't mean that if you pick the MCU character, it doesn't mean you're going to get into trouble with them or have to you get killed or for example or anything like that. You can spend the day. I think I would spend the day with Matt Murdock because I want to learn. I want to it's like just walking around with him and his powers.
Oh, and you said this before, so there's an actual. You can join. I can go be with Daredevil, and you're guaranteed safe, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm choosing Matt Murdock. Matt Murdock, 100%. Just
because I did give someone Kingpin before, and they're like, I don't want to spend the day with Kingpin because you might say the wrong thing, and like you've embarrassed me, and they just get their head smashed in a car door, and I was like, no, it's fine, you're going to survive. Don't worry about it. It's all
Kingpin would just be awkward, man. I don't think that's good company.
He would be a little bit, I suppose. Yeah. Thankfully, he's not one of your choices. What do
you want to do? You want to play Rocket League or Call of Duty?
He plays a lot of Fortnite here. He goes by the name of Noob Master 69.
Cooking. Maybe we could do some culinary stuff.
I think the chef and me would appeal to that, although I don't really want to cook fried eggs and asparagus, to be fair.
Right, and sprinkle some parsley on top of it.
Kind of a little bit boring. I'm not here for the healthy stuff. Let's go get
a lot of work for a garnish.
Fair. Okay, then. So your next choice. Would you rather spend the day with Vanessa Fisk, Isla Zura, or Caleb? I can't remember his last name. I normally full name people, but I can't remember Caleb's last name. Oh, Culver. Caleb Culver. There we go.
I'm going to get in trouble with my wife, even though she's not in the game, because Vanessa Fisk, huh? Okay. Who's the second one?
Well, it's the actress that plays her.
Okay.
Isla Zura.
Oh, gosh. You know what? I'm going to... Oh, you know what? I was thinking my wife was in the game for some reason, but no, Caleb. No, I'm easily going to go with Caleb is a safe bet too. Cause I don't know Caleb as much as I know David, but we got to know each other a lot on the podcast. So I know we'd get along. He's good friends with David and I'm sure we'd have a great time and I'd like to get to know him more. So I kind of want to just give Love a nice date night.
Romantic dinner.
I'm picking Love. I'm doing it. I'm doing Love.
Nice, Caleb. I'll clip this and send it to you, buddy. You got picked. It's all good. No one ever picks their co-host. It's all good. Nice. Yeah. Fair.
I don't know.
I thought you were your wife jealous and go for Vanessa Fisk, but
right. No trouble.
Fair enough. And then one last pick for you, a pick that I would be insanely jealous of, and I would kill to have this pick. But would you rather spend the day with John Bernthal, Frank Castle, David, or Caleb?
John Bernthal. I've heard the coolest stories about what he did to train to become an actor in Russia. And also going to like nowadays how much he's connected to the Punisher and appreciates that character. So, he's got some comic book reading in him. So I think that we could have plenty of interesting conversation. I'd love to pick his mind.
I'm sorry, the correct answer is Frank Castle. No, it's a fair pick. It's
I'm all right. What do you want to do?
No.
You want to cruise around the go check out the river? All right, sure.
It's a fair pick. John Bernthal is really good. He's obviously got a great roster of shows and films he's been in, with more coming on the way as well. I know he's doing The Accountant 2. That's coming up very soon. I'm actually quite interested to see that. He looks like he's going to be. Although I think there's a problem for me, and sometimes I can't view actors outside of a role that I see them obviously is the main thing. And so when I see him as Frank Castle, because he's a perfect casting as Frank Castle, I then don't see him being any other character in any other thing that he's been in. So like, I saw the trailer for The Accountant 2, and I was like, that's just a different version of Frank Castle. He's there with guns on, and he's going mowing to people down. I'm like, it's just a different version of Frank, really, isn't it? So I think that becomes an issue, but it's my issue in terms of I'm just viewing him like that.
Yeah, that does become a thing now. When you see RDJ or watch Sherlock Holmes or something, you still kind of see Tony Stark.
Yeah, that is a big one, isn't it? It's just every now and again I'm expecting like Chris Evans to pop up with a shield and something.
Yeah.
Or it's like when when Chris Hemsworth did Men in Black International, and there's that moment where he like picks up a hammer, and then you have some sort of in joke in the film, and he kind of like, you're never going to escape those characters now, are you? That you are those characters forever. So
right.
But fair enough. You picked John Bernthal, so we've got Matt Murdock, John Bernthal, and Caleb wins out as the three picks. So absolutely fair play. Sorry, David, you missed out altogether. It's just how the way it goes on MCU or Real Life View. It's just how the way it goes. Most of the time, of course, we want to spend the days with celebrities or fictional characters that we love. So absolutely no reason why we can't do that. But that brings a conclusion to this week's pointless episode of MCU or Real Life View. Now, we are here to chat about Daredevil, Daredevil Born Again, I should even say. Episodes 7 and 8 have been dropping the last 2 weeks. The finale comes this week coming. How have you been enjoying the series up to episodes?
I think it's right up, not quite up to the Netflix standards, but I am enjoying it. I would even say maybe more than most, because I think a lot of the complaints come from filler episodes, the lack of Daredevil, which is also, that's kind of a complaint for me. But my point is, I am okay with the fillers because they feel very comic-y, and like a single issue of whatever. Sometimes that happens, that bank scene. I might have even said this on your podcast or just our podcast, but it felt not only like classic MCU. We had a cameo from Miss Marvel, but it felt like classic superhero movies with bank scenes, Spider-Man 2, but it also felt like kind of classic comic-y. And it has more, it goes darker. And I shouldn't say darker. Netflix got pretty gnarly, but it gets as pretty much as dark, but it goes a lot lighter and more of the superhero Daredevil. So that does feel like MCU, and it feels more like a Mark Waid run on Daredevil. Have you read that one?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
So kind of a more lighthearted approach, which the first time I read that comic, I didn't even really like it. I was looking for the dark Daredevil because that's kind of his character, but I gave it another shot and I loved that run for some reason. At least many parts of it were really good. So I'm feeling more of that influence in Born Again. It's a little Mark Waid, a little more optimistic, comic-y superhero Daredevil, even though we're not seeing him in costume. And when we do see him in costume, it's kind of awkward. I mean, just the swinging scenes, I guess.
Yeah.
They're not really doing good with those. I don't need to see him swinging, to be honest. But the fights are good. The choreography's been good. All right, I'll stop there for now, but I have been liking it. It's not quite up to par with Netflix.
I think those are all pretty fair comments. I mean, I've always mentioned the swinging CGI, and then the CGI of him running across rooftops has been a bit dodgy. It's like an old school. I think Dave described it as a PS2 cutscene, which is kind of fairly accurate, to be fair. So that's been a little bit dodgy, but I didn't mind. Like, I only consider episode 5, like the whole bank episode, to be the only real filler episode, if you like. Everything else has been an attempt to either build up the plot or move it forward. So I don't think there's really been too much filler in that sense. Yeah, I've been disappointed with the lack of actual Daredevil so far. One thing we spoke about before we went live was the fact that part of the apparently the original script that they weren't happy with and got rid of was the fact that Daredevil didn't in the suit didn't even make an appearance until episode 4 or 5 of the original script. Like, well, we got 8 minutes of him in the opening episode and then didn't see him again until the end of episode 4. So it's pretty much the same stretch, really, of time. And I know you've got to build it up. This is whole Daredevil Born Again. It's not just straight Daredevil. So he had to have a reason to stop being him, and then you've got to build it back up to where he then becomes him again. And so I understand the lack of him sort of in the middle of it. At the same point, yeah, I think with these 2 episodes as well, we got obviously a lot of Daredevil in episode 7. We got technically none suited up in episode 8, which I was really surprised at. I was expecting to see that. But having said that, I like obviously seeing a bit more of Matt Murdock as well. I like getting to see that side of him. I like sometimes seeing the courtroom side of him as well, which is something I think people criticize about, but I like seeing that side of him because it shows his intelligence as a person and as a lawyer and his ability to get through things, and also sometimes using his powers to work out if someone's uneasy or if they're lying and stuff like that. So I do like seeing that side of it. One thing I want to ask you about, to be fair, JD, was one of the complaints I've seen, something I kind of do agree with, was that the Netflix series concentrated more on his religious side and explored more of his faith and his position with how he dealt with Daredevil and how that sat with how he thought God would think about it. And they haven't really touched that much, from what I've seen anyway, on his faith in Daredevil Born Again. And from what I've read in the comics as well, that's a serious side of him, something that impacts on that they do explore a lot. So do you think it's something that they've missed here that they should have touched on, or do you think it's been okay not having that side of it?
It seems like it's something that's concerning, that media seems to be kind of like taking all kinds of faith talk out of the media. And it seems like, I don't know, let's not go down that road, I guess, but it seems like a small void. I think there was a balance there in the Netflix Daredevil that some of it was maybe a little bit too much, and some of it was a little too slow, or there was just too many of those scenes. But if you balance that, and it wasn't even excessive, right? Not
Yeah.
because you need that moral, ethical kind of reasoning background to his decision making. Otherwise, he is just kind of the psycho vigilante, right? We kind of need that other side of the balance. So I think there is that void. I wonder if we are going to get it. Maybe him finding his way back to faith has something to do with him becoming more of a full-time Daredevil for season 2 or something. Although he is rocking that black costume, that doesn't really look too faithful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say there is a void. Yeah, let's go with yeah. So
okay. And then we get into episode 7. We'll obviously start there. So it picks up obviously from the fact that he'd returned at the end of the previous episode, kicked Muse's ass essentially, saved Angela, and obviously the setting up of the anti-vigilante task force as well. So we've now got that into play. Where did you think this episode was going from the end of episode 6 before you sort of sat down and watched episode 7?
Well, the Muse, obviously. Muse I didn't expect it to conclude necessarily.
Yeah.
But since we had the bank scene, I really did expect it to focus on Muse and for, them to lightly push the overall story in the background. I just thought Muse was going to have much more of a direct connection. I thought his art was going to speak more to the story, have more of a political statement, with Fisk and Daredevil on his art. I thought the art itself could have been characterized in a way. In the comics, it played into the politics more and played into his character more, and the art it was a weird aspect where Daredevil couldn't touch it, or else he'd leave fingerprints on a crime scene. But if he couldn't touch it, he couldn't actually see the art. There was just a lot of fun stuff to play with that we didn't do with Muse there. But I guess but in the comics, he also was finished off pretty quickly. If you recall, did you read the Charles Soule run and completion?
Yeah, it was only 3 or 4 episodes, was it?
Yeah, I mean, he was introduced in volume 3, and then I think,
Mm.
and spoiler alert, sorry, but when he became Mayor Fisk in volume 6, I think he got killed in that one too, and didn't play a big role there. And I kind of fault the creators of Marvel for wasting such a creative character, but I think because of that, I'm not complaining about it in the show, that he had such an abrupt ending. And it's almost reminds me of Reed Richards, in a weird way, but what's his name? John Krasinski, like.
Yeah.
The fans, like, we got what we wanted, but then the fans are hungry and they want more. They want him to be the permanent Reed Richards. Instead of just being happy with this awesome cameo, we need him, we need Krasinski forever. But I'm kind of looking at Muse like that now. And I think only because of the comics, his story was so quick. But like, it started, it ended, and I'm kind of happy that we got Muse on screen, and I'm good with it. Let's move on, because if he had a longer backstory in the comics, I'd probably have more of a complaint there. But yeah, I don't even. At that point, I strayed so far away from your question, but
that's all right. I mean, yeah, I wasn't exactly expecting them to kill off Muse that quickly. I was questioning that maybe they'd only just started getting into Muse's story in episode 6, and really sort of brought him to the fore, and obviously finding his lair and stuff like that, and having him first face off against Daredevil. So I wasn't, I was expecting him to play a role up until the finale, and then maybe get killed off then, or defeated then and put in prison or whatever. So yeah, a bit of a shock to see him killed off. But let's just talk about the fight between them. So obviously he goes to see Heather, Matt's girlfriend, and obviously reveals to her that he's Muse, and he's wants to drain her and obviously paint something on a big canvas there. And obviously Daredevil comes brawling in. They have a big fight, and Heather ends up shooting him. So where do you sit on the whole debate about the fact that they tried to pass off the whole reason that he could go toe to toe in a hand-to-hand combat fight with Daredevil, the fact that he did Taekwondo for 3 months when he was 16?
Yeah, that's lazy. That's weak. It's Daredevil. It's not just, millions of people do Taekwondo for many years. You can't just go fight Daredevil.
Yeah, I was not buying the whole, I did it for 3 months. I hated it and ended up killing my coach. So
yeah, I was hoping he had a backstory, like he was part of the Hand or something like that.
Would have been interesting.
Rogue.
Sorry. No, I was just thinking about, because you did say in your episode, didn't you, about maybe you could have had the backstory being from the Hand or something like that. But I think, because essentially the Hand are they're essentially wiped out right now, aren't they? If the Netflix series is canon, and in the Defenders they kind of got defeated, didn't they? So the Hand kind of, I think, maybe they live on somewhere. But
there's also the Fist. There's the Hand and the Fist. So the Fist can come.
This is true. Yeah. Lots of possibilities there, but yeah, it was the whole explanation was a bit weak. I mean, but did you enjoy the fight in general amongst them? Did you expect Heather to actually be the one that kills him?
No, I was really hoping he would last longer still, playing into the finale or something, maybe even into season 2. But as choreography wise, I thought the fight was awesome. It was really, actually, tense and badass. You are sitting there wondering the whole time, like, man, he just shouldn't be able to fight Daredevil, but it just took you out a tiny bit, I guess. But for what it was an awesome fight, and it is still really dramatic and tense the way he just died at the end there. And the drama behind her saying that he showed up just for himself and his own good. It's so annoying. Like, he busted in there to save her life, and it really bugs me. And I think she's going to be a character that is on, she's going to play a big role on Fisk's side or something like that. She's too, we're not getting into her. I'm sorry, but yeah.
It's all right. It's free flowing, mate. If you want to get into Heather, we get into it, because it has annoyed me, her character, a little bit. I mean, some people say she's absolutely fine. You've got to look at things from her point of view, and the fact that her boyfriend is starting to disassociate. He's coming up with bad excuses. He's coming back injured and pulling away from her, and she would have every right to be worried or pissed off with him and whatever. But I'm we're not here to focus on her, though. We're focusing on Matt's story, and she doesn't know what he's going through. And then her whole thing with she wants to interview Frank Castle, or she wants to interview Daredevil, and then she's like, these are just boys in masks, they're cowards. And it's well, these cowards save your life. So
yeah, she spoke so much about the hero stuff. The Fisk thing is there. I was always like, well, did Fisk do that on purpose to get close to Matt? Now we know they did, because the assistant dude showed up, but that was Matt's apartment, right? Because he was like, how do you know she's staying here? So that was all done on purpose. But was that by Vanessa or by Fisk? Did she or him set that up? That's what's confusing me. Did she, because we found out that it was her that, killed Foggy. There's a lot of drama behind that. And the therapist is the wild card. Where is she in on it, or is she being manipulated too? What do you think? Is she good or bad?
I think she's just a neutral one, to be fair. I don't think I don't think that she's involved either way. She's just a pawn in the middle of it.
Okay.
Fisk is always seems to be, in terms of planning, a couple of steps ahead of everyone until it comes to a full-on fight in front of his face. So he's always planning those things, and we've learned that whilst he's been away and had his recovery time from his injury, and then his little epiphany at the end of Echo that he was given, so to speak, Vanessa's been in charge, and she's been very good at running the business that we never really thought of she would be that kind of character. And she's able to think those steps ahead as well. So I think we're starting to learn that Vanessa has the same sort of capabilities of thinking a couple of bits ahead, as long as it goes to plan. I think we saw that once she learned that Bullseye had escaped prison and was on the way to see Fisk, that she was kind of like, oh shit, I kind of need to tell you something because I kind of fucked up a little bit and something that you didn't know I did. And so she's, we're learning that I still think she's going to get killed in the finale, by the way. I've said that since the start. I don't think Vanessa makes it to season 2. I think her dying allows Fisk to be a true Fisk. Because I know he said, he's like, oh, I'm nothing without Vanessa. I'm not myself without her. But I think her death,
foreshadowing.
I think her death allows him to go to another level of badass.
Yeah, and behind the scenes, I can see that happening because originally Vanessa was not supposed to be in the show, or not the same actress anyway. The reshoots said they did a lot, and they certainly didn't bring Daredevil back like they said. I mean, for more episodes, right? It didn't seem like we got a lot more Daredevil. So what did the reshoots really do? Maybe a lot of that was focused on closure for her character, and that would be building up a story there and then killing her off and setting Kingpin loose for season 2. And that's why you got black costume. Who knows? But yeah, I like where that's going. I could see that.
And I think Bullseye is probably favorite to kill her, especially now, given with what we've seen in episode 8. So, but let's just go back to Matt in episode 7. So obviously he has a bit of obviously I liked how he's built up his anxiety and the tension over these 2 episodes for Matt. Obviously it really elevated in episode 8, but in episode 7, so he has a sort of falling out with Cherry, the retired cop he's like PI now, and Cherry's like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? Like, I warned you to stay away from this, and he didn't. And Matt's just like, the police, 60 victims, and I found him in one night and stopped him. and as they're arguing, and obviously Cherry goes to walk away saying he's not going to facilitate him doing this, and he's like, don't forget that you used to come to me when you're in the police in these situations, and I would stop them for you. So why should this be any different right now? And I love that. Like, Cherry sort of taking the high road, almost taking like the Foggy type role of telling him you don't need to do this, you need to stay away from it, you need to rein yourself back in. And Matt's just like, I can do things better and quicker than the police can, so why shouldn't I help out? Why am I not justified in doing this? And so I feel like it's almost Matt justifying to himself of returning to Daredevil now and the reason that he needs to do it. And everything is elevating, and Matt's almost become a little bit paranoid through these 2 episodes up until the end of episode 8, where he's like, everything is about me. It's about Fisk manipulating everything to get to me. And so his paranoia is just giving him more justification to be Daredevil again. What do you reckon?
Dude, the paranoia aspect is one of the best parts of the story, I think, or one of the most unique things they're doing compared to Netflix. Well, it's almost like he's being driven insane. Not quite there. You can't call it insane, but I mean, he's kind of starting to go off the rails, and it's a character that in Netflix seemed to always be so composed, always pretty sure of what to do. And this one seems like he's kind of losing it, which is more like the comics. Remember, like Bendis, from Bendis to Brubaker to Shadowland. It was all a consistent decline to Shadowland, where he became a villain temporarily. And his life was always spinning out of control. This is matching that. Netflix kind of did it, but it felt more just like a superhero that, had his conflicts. But this feels like more like his life is spinning out of control. So when he finally gets into that Daredevil costume, it's going to be a black costume. We're going to get probably a darker character, which is crazy because it's already pretty dark. But you could see it spinning in that direction. But I like it's more psychologically tense. The drama here, how it's told, it feels different from Netflix in that way too. The scores, the music, the presentation. It feels very tense and dramatic in a kind of a cinematic way compared to Netflix too.
And then what I've loved as well is how they've shown both Matt and Fisk's professional lives or personal lives. They've come and tried to be different people, and they're just slowly dwindling back to the people that they were, and the people that are probably their true selves, rather than them trying to be someone else. So as we focus on Fisk's story through episode 7 going into episode 8, we obviously see him returning more and more to the gangster type person. And obviously Luca, the head of the tracksuit mafia, wants to kill him off and has that chat with Vanessa. And it seems like, is Vanessa playing Fisk? Is she doing things very good? Does she want to take control of the business again? But she's obviously sticking by Fisk, as we learn at the start of episode 8, because she sets Luca up and Luca gets killed. Just shot in the head by Buck, which was quite funny, I thought. As if you could just walk in and thinking that Fisk was going to be alone and kill him that easily.
So you don't think that Vanessa set Luca up on purpose?
No, I think she did. That's what I mean.
I
think it was left us trying to think: is Vanessa not happy with who Fisk has now become because he's had a bit of a change of who he was during his time away, and does she want to run the gangster business herself because she knows how good she's become at it? So therefore, was she playing Fisk and setting him up to genuinely be killed by Luca? But Fisk is always a step ahead of the game. And knew that this would happen, and that's why he had someone ready to kill Luca. I think a lot of people were questioning that, but I just think that realistically, she was never really going to turn on him right now. Anyway,
you got to think though, if she was actually like inherently motivated to run the business, like she was happy with that spot running the business. Now her husband's back as mayor. I feel like her running her crime business would be easier than ever, and they would be the most powerful duo ever. I mean, man, but this is one of the most complex issues of this, not issues as in bad. It's really good, but we don't know if she's like still in love with him, if she's still on his side fully, is she fully dedicated to him, or does she have her own plans? What's up with this Foggy situation? And do you remember the Easter egg with the life and death of Foggy Nelson, the issue number?
Yeah.
Do you think that's actually happening? Do you think Foggy's alive?
You know what? I think I said this after the first 2 episodes, that if they did pull a bait and switch on us where Vanessa had somehow got him and he wasn't dead, or brought him back to life in an ambulance, say on the way to the hospital after they arrived, and pulled a bait and switch and she has him locked away somewhere and he is actually alive, I would be pretty pissed off, because whilst there's the whole mantra of, like, in the comic books and stuff, like, no one ever really dies, I would be majorly pissed off if he was alive, because the whole motivation for Matt to stop being Daredevil was to respect the fact that it got Foggy killed in a way, someone wanting the vengeance on them, and I just think it's a bad move for the MCU in general to have killed off someone like Foggy. Like, they made all the effort to bring him back for the series. To kill him off in the first 10 minutes was a genius move in a way, because it really plays with your emotions. And really, as us, when we're talking about this type of thing, makes you question why they did that. At the same point, that's what makes it brilliant. So to then pull the whole bait and switch that, like, maybe in season 2, they bring him back alive, I would be kind of pissed if they did that, to be honest. I wouldn't be happy. I don't think it's a move that they should pull. Let it be as it is now. It gives Matt more motivation to be someone that he wants to stay true to, rather than trying to deny it based on the fact that Foggy wouldn't want him to be Daredevil or didn't want him to be Daredevil. And as your co-host Dave says, somehow Foggy has returned in classic Star Wars style. So yeah, I would. I mean, how do you feel? I wouldn't be happy if they brought Foggy back. What about you? I think it was just an Easter egg to that episode, and to make you start questioning it rather than it's something they're actually going to do.
I want to think it's just an Easter egg, but I want to think that there is a deeper story with Vanessa and Foggy's connected somehow. And maybe it has to do with Vanessa knew Kingpin was coming back and was not okay with it and needed Daredevil to come back like angrier than ever. But the other thing about that is, in the comics, she was behind it too. It was her plan behind Fisk's back in the comics as well. And season 2, I mean, could potentially be about him uncovering that truth. And, he returns by the end of season 2. So we get another Dark Daredevil fully black suited. But I kind of do think, I'm like 51%. I think Foggy is alive and Vanessa is behind it. And there's a deeper story connected.
Interesting. Yeah, I
don't know.
I would be happy if Foggy's alive because I love the character.
Yeah, I get it. And it might also bring Bullseye's story full circle in a way, because he knew he wasn't killing him. He was shooting him with some kind of triple X dart. Remember that thing that would make you look like you're dead, but you're not? And he goes to prison for this murder, and he almost got murdered for this murder. It was like one time ever that he wasn't trying to murder someone. Because his story there is a sympathetic feel to his story for some reason. And he tried to kill Fisk. He tried not to kill Daredevil. He tried to kill the bad guy. He's pissed at Fisk. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I think Vanessa could be behind that, but it could bring Bullseye's full circle. Foggy, Vanessa, maybe.
I mean, let's talk about Bullseye, because obviously he played a big part in episode 8. So we see the fact that he gets moved to Gen Pop in prison when he's like, I'm supposed to be doing special supervision whilst my case is under appeal. And obviously we learn that Fisk is moved in there because he's like, I'm done with this dude. Let's just get him knocked off. He asks to see Matt. Matt goes to see him. And I love that little interaction between them, because it almost makes you think that, like, because he said to Matt, he's like, you'll never know whether Fisk hired me as long as I'm still in here. And Matt slams his face into the table, causing him to go to the infirmary, which gives him a chance to escape. And you're like, did Matt do that to get a bit of frustration out, but also knowing it would give him a chance to escape, to get him on the outside, to get the answers he needs? Or was it just a pure moment of frustration from Matt by wanting to just give him a few face slams? What do you reckon?
It's part of him going kind of crazy, right? I don't think Netflix Matt does that. He's kind of going off the rails, but it's satisfying because, I say that he's a sympathetic feeling character, but I mean, he really is a terrible person. Like he might, that's a far-fetched theory, but all those other people died. If Foggy didn't die, he probably did anyway, but he killed a lot of other people for that scene too. So he definitely deserves to be locked away forever. I guess I had to rescind my sympathy statement for Bullseye. You can't have sympathy for Bullseye, but it just shows, Matt's going off the rails, but I kind of like it. You kind of like that dark, angry Daredevil, right?
Yeah, I do love it when he goes off the rails. Obviously, we saw hints of it coming out when he lashes out at Frank in their little scene together. And he's like, I'm sorry. He's trying to control himself. It's like, no, let the devil out. Come on.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on Daredevil, what you think we're going to get for the finale. Because not Daredevil, Punisher. He's going to show up in the finale, I feel like, don't you?
Yeah, we saw the images, didn't we? He was even in like one of the trailers in his full gear fighting. Okay. So he's got to be in this episode. If he's not, then I'm going to be so pissed.
Yeah, I'm sure like me, you expected it to probably be before the finale, though. Maybe.
Yeah, I did expect it maybe this episode. Obviously, we see Bullseye obviously manages to escape the pretty brutal tooth to the eye situation, which was just hilarious, to be fair. And obviously uses the prison guard's badge to escape and whatever. But then we get to what has been probably, I was going to say, like a dull bit of storyline that wasn't really interesting to me, but the whole like Adam affair sort of situation with Vanessa, that came to a conclusion where Fisk finally shows Vanessa that he I love the fact he's like, I honored my word and I didn't kill him, but I did lock him up and kick the shit out of him quite a bit. So it's kind of like, okay, so you admitted that you didn't kill him, but you didn't fucking tell me that you had him locked up either. And then that was hilarious to me. Then obviously Vanessa shoots him several times and then in the head, which was quite brutal. And that seems to maybe bring them back together. I think because maybe like Fisk was shown like by them setting up Luca and Vanessa sort of maybe contributing and showing Fisk that she does have faith in what he's trying to do. And by setting up Luca and telling him that he wanted to do that and then killing him off, it prompted Fisk to then show, okay, I've got Adam here. And Vanessa's like, if we're going to move forward, then we've got to eliminate everything on the outside, and it's just us. So that's why I think she kills him off. Yeah. Just ties up that little bit of their story. It was pointless a little bit, apart from them just trying to. It seems like it was only put in there to get them to marriage counselling and have a bit of an issue.
Yeah, but they were already in marriage counselling before, weren't they? And
I don't think so.
And before, Well, before the kill shot, as is what.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
Before Vanessa knew about Adam, I guess you were talking about. That's why the cheating there is what led to them going to therapy. Is what you meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. You were saying it felt pointless, and I agree because I still don't know if Vanessa's fully committed. I feel like that scene should have served that purpose exactly. Like, yeah, she picked the gun up and shot him, but it still feels like she might be not fully with him. So that should have been the purpose for that scene. Otherwise, it is kind of empty. I mean, it adds to the drama. It shows Kingpin's like just desperate attachment, but it could have. Unless they just still want us to be confused about Vanessa, man. That's why I think something's going on.
Yeah, I just do get that niggling thing in the background as much as I was thinking, oh, Vanessa's completely with Fisk, that something's happening. But it's just been interesting, obviously, as we said, that as the series has gone on and Matt's sort of fallen down the rabbit hole back towards Daredevil and the paranoia and everything, in the same way that Fisk is like learned that being mayor wasn't what he thought it was going to be, but he then has realized he doesn't need to exclude the way that he used to do things as a gangster and as a criminal, and he's brought that into obviously the way that he's now mayor, and the fact he's bribing people, he's blackmailing people, he's just wants to circumvent things, and going down that route, and even going as far as like as they just discuss in the episode that they're co-opting Heather's story and the fact that he gives the credit to the task force for killing Muse rather than saying, Daredevil helped out and the doctor defended herself and killed him in self-defense. And so he's running this whole narrative of what he's doing for the city is good by doing it all the bad ways possible. So I just love the fact that as the series has gone on, he's turned more towards his old self while still trying to obviously hold that front up of he's a righteous mayor and he's the right man for the city.
Yeah, that's the whole theme of the show, is the duality of Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk giving into their darker halves. Starting the show believing that they've given up those darker halves. By the end of the show, they will be giving into those darker halves. So it's the whole theme of the show. And I think that part of it is done pretty brilliantly, to be honest. Even the marketing played into that with the white and the red. Two sides of their, faces on the marketing, a lot of it with the red lighting when him becoming mayor and the white light, Matt just starting his descent back to the devil and his face is in red light. It's presented really well.
I mean, you just mentioned there about the whole thing between the two of them being red and white. Does this fit in with your theory that Vanessa's maybe not sitting with Fisk? Is when they enter the private ball thing, Fisk is in complete white and Vanessa's in a complete red dress.
Right. Wow. I didn't even consider it. And also Matt's girlfriend was in white as well. Or she was in red. I think they were like the only two. I think David might have mentioned that they were the only two people wearing red dresses in that. Someone said that. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I think Vanessa, overall, I think she is not fully with Fisk. I think Vanessa does have her own plans. I'm like pretty much committed to that just for fun. I'll pick that side. I think she's totally doing something against Fisk. I think something potentially bad for Daredevil, but potentially for the greater good. Maybe potentially she's like the emperor in this whole situation. she's got it all manipulated to her, and it might be the best situation for everybody. Not like the emperor would have the best situation, but yeah, I'm going with that side, man. I think she is definitely not with Fisk.
And then all roads in this episode do obviously run to this this event that they're all at. So obviously Matt's getting more and more paranoid when he's like to try to chat with Heather about, is Fisk your client? And she won't reveal it. And he's like, he's just using you to get to me. Obviously, like we said, the whole paranoia setting in, especially when Buck turns up and gives them an invite. He's like, and as you said earlier, he's like, how do you know that I was here, that she was here? He's like, so he's like sets off the paranoia even more. He's like, is Fisk keeping tabs on me? And it makes it even better that Matt wants to go. Obviously, we see Fisk throughout this episode chatting with the rich and the powerful of New York. And he's obviously manipulated them or blackmailed them somehow into obviously getting donations towards his Red Hook restoration project. And obviously threatening people like the swordsman, going, Rumi, you're a vigilante. Don't want the task force coming down on you. But, as long as you don't want that happening, I'll contact your CFO tomorrow and we can arrange a payment. So, and then when Matt's finally about to crack, I think, and he's walking up to go and chat to Fisk and they all start dancing. And then Fisk is just talking out loud, so Matt can obviously hear him and just winding him up even more. And he's just like smugly laughing at him. I thought that entire bit was just brilliant.
I absolutely love that, dude. Oh, that's one of the coolest uses of a main villain and a main hero, using that main hero's powers, using the main villain's knowledge and wrapping it in a perfect bow. He's speaking to him without standing there talking to him, and he knows he's listening, and he's the only one that knows he's listening. That was beautiful.
And then obviously we get the news that Bullseye's escaped. He's obviously going to be on his way there, and we see him arrive. The chef and me absolutely hated the fact that there seemed to be a pronged fork just balancing on the edge of a fryer. I'm like, I've never, in 20 years as a chef, I've never seen that happen. So they fucking poor ass work from the chefs on that front. But then obviously, it looks like Matt's obviously, it just gets to that point. This is where I got a little disappointed in a way, because the whole build up of the tension and the paranoia and Matt's head almost like going to explode as he wanted to just unleash all of that on Fisk, I think. And then Bullseye shows up, and obviously Vanessa clicks straight away that she's like, oh shit, Bullseye's coming here. And she's like, I've got to tell you something to Fisk. And he's like, not now, not here. And Matt obviously works out that that Vanessa's the one that hired Bullseye to kill Foggy. So they have a little dance, and he tells her that he knows the situation. And obviously at the same point, you've got Fisk with Heather, and he's planting the seeds in her head that he's obviously unstable and he's not right. And so it's just everyone's manipulating everyone, and they're all just heading towards a big blowout. And Bullseye turns up, tries to shoot Fisk. And it's interesting because even though he obviously would probably know that Vanessa was the one that hired him, he still ties everything back to Fisk in a way. And he's like, if I eliminate Fisk, then that situation's sorted. But obviously Matt dives in front and takes the shot for Fisk. I mentioned to you before we started, and it's something obviously I wanted to talk about, is the look of hurt on Bullseye's face. Because Bullseye, I think, kind of thinks of Matt and Daredevil as like his greatest foe in all of this. But obviously Matt thinks that Fisk is his greatest foe. And having asked Matt previously to help him out, and Matt kind of refused, to then see Matt dive in front of Fisk and take the bullet for him, I think really does like psychologically hurt him a little bit. What do you reckon?
Does it psychologically hurt Matt or Kingpin or Bullseye?
Bullseye, because he's thinking that Matt's his greatest enemy, but Matt's just dived in front of a bullet for Fisk.
And you said it before the show. He just got done telling Daredevil, like, it's the good thing to do. You're supposed to what did he say? Support even your greatest enemy. He said something along those lines, and just Matt brutally refuses in his face, then takes a bullet for his enemy. So that's where the sympathy side comes from. With Bullseye there, because it's probably gonna hurt. I cannot wait to see the fallout, because of the penultimate. It's one hell of a penultimate episode ending it like that, because with Fisk being mayor, an assassination attempt alone says a lot. So how is the public going to deal with that? And then the escaped Bullseye, he's going to have a lot to say. He's going to be interrogated. And then Daredevil just got shot. It's weird. Like, I'm usually the kind of guy that would much prefer the show to be more about the hero, full power fighting. But I actually am digging the show even without Daredevil. And I'm not sad that I'm not going to get a ton of Daredevil in this finale, actually, because the drama, the storytelling is awesome. I can't wait to see what happens with Bullseye and Kingpin. So, yeah, I mean, I'm itching to watch this conclusion. It's sad that we talked about this a little bit ago, but it's Disney Plus doesn't do conclusions well, or nothing's ever complete, right? It has to spoil into season 2 or spill into season 2. And it's been a long time since we've had such like a very just complete season of show. Like a Last of Us season 1 felt complete. We got that coming today. Let's go. But it's sad that we're not going to get the end of a lot of these storylines, because it's been building up so much, and I want to see where it's going. And we're just gonna have to wait another year after tomorrow. But which storylines do you think will get wrapped up tomorrow, if any?
I think the Bullseye one gets wrapped up. I don't really see him going forward into season 2.
I think we have set images already, though. I think we have Wilson Bethel on season 2.
Okay, so because I saw this is what something I was going to say is it's kind of hurt the season a little bit for me that we're getting season
Yes.
2 leaks and set photo leaks
Yes, totally
during the
does.
middle of this season.
Totally does.
I've become quite good in general at avoiding spoilers. So whether it's for any upcoming films or anything that's dropping, really, I've become quite good at avoiding them. And so I've stayed out the way of a lot of the season 2 stuff that's been leaked because I don't want it spoiled. But I've just seen a couple, obviously, pictures of Matt and Karen and the suit and stuff like that, and the anti-vigilante task force. I don't know how much more has been leaked, but those are the only ones I've seen. So, okay, if there's pictures of him from season 2 filming, okay, makes it through. I thought they might wrap that up in
Almost
here.
positive. I guess don't quote me on that. I'm almost positive though.
I mean, like I said, personally, because I generally think Vanessa will get killed in the next episode. So I think her maybe storyline comes to an end, unless, like you've already mentioned earlier, they're doing the whole thing that she has got Foggy somewhere and that's going to roll on. But I personally think that there has to be someone that dies in the next episode out of Bullseye, Vanessa, and Heather as well. I don't think she makes it through, to be honest. I think she's going to get caught in the crossfire somewhere.
Well, I was going to say another thing about her is she wasn't concerned that her client sought her out in another person's home, and obviously Vanessa or Fisk wanted Matt to know that there was a connection there. So, and she wasn't concerned. Is someone who should be always concerned with confidentiality as a therapist. And she wasn't concerned that someone just showed up at this house that isn't probably even on record as her house. It's her boyfriend's house. So if she's a bad guy, I think she's going to keep going. If she's a good guy, I think she's dead. Well, not a good or neutral.
But I mean, so okay. Then my prediction really is that Vanessa and Heather's story come to an end in the finale, one way or another.
Yes. Okay.
Just quickly before we discuss any predictions for the finale, let me just put up a potential newspaper headline the morning after this assassination attempt for you, and just tell me what you think about it. So they report that there's been an assassination attempt on Mayor Fisk, but the blind lawyer dived in front of him to take the shot for him is also the same lawyer that put him away in season 1 of the Netflix Daredevil series. So they're reporting that the lawyer that originally got him put in prison for being a gangster and a criminal is the same one that then saves him later on. How do you think that news goes down amongst the New York people?
Well, what blew my mind is the fact that he's blind. How would he jump in front of a bullet? That was my big thing. Like, what? That just totally brought that's going to be it should be a big question, but that's what I was talking about right before this, like the fallout of this. I can't wait to see the fallout of all this drama. And that leads me to wonder if they're going to connect it that closely to Netflix, which I think they're going on, like that's just straight up canon. All right. It's not like a slightly different universe that had a very similar background. I think that should be canon.
It's all full canon.
Okay, good. Yeah. I mean, and that'd be awesome to tie it into, bring the news back to that very public incident from season 1. So I would love that. And I can't, like I said, I can't wait to see the fallout of all that.
It's just something that occurred to me. I'm like, should that not be a big thing when the reporters were investigating this to go, hang on a minute, isn't this the same lawyer that put him away in season 1 when they were unknowns and they made their name off the back of that?
Yeah.
And then it all starts to be maybe connected by the press, and maybe it all goes against Fisk because they go, well, hang on a minute, well, Matt and Foggy were the lawyers that put him away in season 1, and somehow later on a guy that Fisk was connected with from season 3 in terms of turned an ex-FBI agent to his cause is then the guy that kills one of the lawyers that put him away, but then somehow the other lawyer then saves him from being assassinated. It's all if there's no investigation into that, it's not sort of done on like maybe BB Urich's like report thing. I'd like to see just a couple of minutes of just like New Yorkers answering that question.
Yeah.
What do you think's going on with that?
Dude, and you know what? Remember that issue in Brian Michael Bendis's that was nothing but people and reporters and interviews? That would be awesome, and it would fit perfectly into that. And you also said BB Urich. You got her story with the commissioner who's now fully on board with feeding her information for her stories because she knows Fisk killed her uncle. So there's another thing that ain't getting resolved, I don't think.
No. There's not much getting resolved, I don't think, in this final episode.
Potentially, it could be a chaotic resolution for her and Fisk, and she dies or something like that. Like sometimes a dramatic character who wants revenge comes in and they have a big story and then they die abruptly. I wish I could think of examples to back that up.
So then, what are your predictions for the finale of this season? Sorry.
Fisk is going to go crazy with his task force because now he has like a reason to. He just an assassination attempt. This is going to bring Punisher into it, I think. So Daredevil's hurt. We're probably going to have him recovering, and Punisher's going to bust in and ask him like, "What the hell's going on? How did you let all this crap happen? I'm going to have to step in and fix all this." And he's going to be like, "I'm going to do it my way." And Matt's going to be like, "You know what? Fine." And he's just going to go full Punisher. But that just becomes a Punisher episode. I don't think they're going to go. Matt's going to have a huge role in one way or another. But I think the task force is going to go crazy under Fisk. And the Punisher is going to be fighting back. Daredevil and Punisher are going to be fighting the task force, some climactic big thing. I don't know, something is going to get exposed maybe. Do you think Kingpin will be mayor in season 2, or do you think he's going to lose his spot in the finale?
I think he will be, because
it's too much to let go of now.
Yeah, and with the anti-vigilante task force, having seen those clips of them being in season 2 set picks, I think they probably wouldn't still be in place, given that obviously we've seen in the latest episode that there's already complaints about the extreme measures that the task force are taking, and they probably wouldn't let that continue under a new mayor. We probably addressed that.
You're right.
So yeah. I think season 2 is there, but I mean, in a way, I kind of want an all-out brawl in this last episode between every party. I want the task force versus Bullseye versus Punisher and Daredevil, with Heather, Vanessa getting caught in between, and Fisk trying to control it all from the top. I don't think we're going to get that. I think it's hard to say really, because there is going to be some sort of showdown. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how Frank gets pulled back into this. That's the big thing for me, is like maybe the task force are going out and they do almost what real life cops do, in the fact that they're using his thing. Like, because he obviously didn't seem to care previously that his symbol was being co-opted by like crooked cops and stuff. But I think this task force going out and maybe co-opting this symbol and doing it that way, he's going to finally click and be like, I think it's going to be a mix of the two things. Like he's going to be pissed that they're using his symbol so publicly now. In a way, and then, like you said, he's going to be pissed off with Matt for having let things get so bad, and he's going to come back and go, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" And they're going to have another great little 5-minute philosophical chat before Punisher's like, "I'm sick of you. I'm going off to fucking kill them."
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe even Matt gets caught in between it all. Matt's having to fight the task force, Bullseye, and stop Frank from killing everybody at the same time, because he's like, if I'm going to be Daredevil, I've got to do the proper Daredevil thing and make sure that they see justice, not vengeance, so to speak. And so Matt's caught in between trying to stop everyone from killing each other while stopping everyone all at the same time. And I still think Heather and Vanessa get caught in between. I think maybe both get. I think Bullseye kills Vanessa, but the task force kill Heather.
I don't know.
There's so many possibilities, and normally my predictions are fucking awful. So none of this is going to happen.
Mine too. I'm never right either. It's so annoying, but they make sense in my head.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So.
Almost never right.
So much, and it's a decently length episode, isn't it? It's like over 50 minutes, I think.
I think it's about 57, or it's like right under an hour. So 50 minutes without the what do you call them? Credits.
I mean, if they wait until the last 15 minutes to give us Daredevil in fighting, I'm going to be a little bit annoyed. I know he's just been shot. He only got shot in the arm, though, by the look of it.
Yeah.
So, quick recovery.
One more question for you. Do you think we'll have any major cameo for the finale? They've been okay with cameos here, and Daredevil and Spider-Man. I know we're not saying Tom Holland. I'm just
we're not getting Spider-Man, because Sony revealed what their deal was with that on that front. The only one that pops to mind, I wanted her earlier in the series, and I only think of it because
Echo.
The actress herself posted a little cryptic sort of message, Jessica Jones, because she did. Kirsten Ritter posted a little picture of the Jessica Jones outfit during the filming of season 1. It was just like, good to be back.
I was going to say, there's not enough heroes against this strike force with an injured Daredevil, dude. You need one more. Punisher is almost enough. Just give us one more to help us fight this chaos, because we're going to get, like you said, just a huge brawl.
Because I always said that maybe Jessica Jones would have been perfect in place of Cherry to be the PI for his firm. I thought she was perfect, because he's like, I need a PI that's good at investigating but has a bit of muscle to her if needed. Like, who better than Jessica Jones? They had good rapport during the Defenders.
That'd be great.
So I thought that he was perfect, but at the same point, heavy rumor that obviously Defenders will all appear in season 2 of Daredevil, that Matt's going to put together a team to tackle the anti-vigilante task force, and the Defenders are going to be it. I'm down for that rumor.
Yeah.
I'd be 100% behind that. Every
Yeah.
one of the original Defenders returning, like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist. I'd be down for all of them, to be fair.
Me too.
Even though Iron Fist technically, what is season 2 was left, didn't have the fist powers anymore, but
Iron Fist had a season 2. I forgot about that.
Yeah, season 2. And
I liked season 1 a lot more than most people. I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I did not like Luke Cage. I loved it until Mahershala Ali's character got killed off.
Oh yeah, I agree, 100%.
I thought it was going to be so good until
they should have kept his character a lot longer than they did.
The replacement villain was just not good.
No, but yeah, so I'm down for I think in terms of cameos, the realistic one is probably Jessica Jones, simply because there was some hint to it previously from Kristen Ritter. So whether she turns up in the fight or whether she just turns up as a bit of a cow at the end, going like, listen, Horns, we need to chat about the task force situation. And that's what brings them all together going to season 2. So what about you? Anyone outside of Jessica Jones or Spider-Man?
I'd put my money on Jessica Jones. And I know Spider-Man can't go in there. I could, if I'm shooting for the stars, Shang-Chi would be awesome. Ironheart to promote. It seems like more Disney Plus oriented cameos. Well, I guess all we got was we got Hawkeye cameos from the Sword guy, and we got Baby Eric, but then the one other one for the Miss Marvel cameo. So they're doing Disney Plus.
His dad, yeah.
So maybe you could even introduce Wonder Man in like a weird MCU phase 1 kind of Easter egg way. But yeah, maybe Ironheart. I don't think so. I think Jessica Jones is the only one that might be likely.
Yeah, it does seem the safe bet, to be fair. But yeah, I wouldn't mind someone like just a little, because we've had the Swordsman, maybe a little Kate Bishop cameo.
Wong.
I mean, phase 4 was his thing. He was in everything, and he's not really been much in phase 5, is he? So
yeah,
you'd love to see Wong turn up. I mean, that's the thing, that there's so many heroes in New York. You're like,
She-Hulk.
Sometimes you're like, why don't some of these turn up? So you'd think that some of them do turn up at some point.
Well, yeah, you got this strike force. It said they took down 17 vigilantes or something. Like who? They took over 15 vigilantes out, and they said that in the show. And who, dude? Who are we talking about here? What did She-Hulk do about that? What did Wong do about that? They're in New York, so that was a high number for that not spilling over into other titles yet.
Wait, I thought She-Hulk was in San Francisco.
Okay, my bad. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because that's
why was Matt in San Francisco?
Well, yeah, we don't know. Although interesting, that's where Karen lives now as well, isn't it? So, she lives in San Francisco. So.
I guess we should expect more young Avengers, maybe Ms. Marvel.
I mean, she's already been mentioned. Wouldn't be the worst thing if she showed up. I wouldn't. I would absolutely not, like I said, mind any of that. Jessica Jones, Ms. Marvel, Kate Bishop, any of those lot at all turning up would be great. So,
Hawkeye meeting them. It's the last one. I'm sorry. Thanos.
Yes, he's going to show up. Yes, he's used that time stone and come back. JD, thank you so much, buddy, for jumping on and joining me for this chat. Always love having you on the show. It's always an absolute pleasure. I know we've got some collabs lined up for the future, comic book wise as well. So it's going to be great to be doing a bit more. So make sure you're looking out for that in the future. Obviously, finale next week. I've got a guest coming on my show, Megan from Vigilante Vibes podcast. She's been on before when we.
Let's go.
Yeah. When we
covered trying to collab with Vigilante Vibes. I'm sorry, Andy. I'm sorry.
It's all right. She came on to do Deadpool Wolverine last year, so it'd be great to have her back on to obviously discuss the finale of Daredevil. Because I asked her, what episode do you want to cover? And she went finale. And I was like, done, dusted, absolutely. Get you on for that. Obviously, I'll be on your show next week to obviously cover the finale as well. And then we crack on with Andor after that. It's non-stop for the next
Last of Us tonight, baby. I'm excited for that.
I have to wait a little bit to watch that. I mean, we do get it over here, but again, it's like all on different subscription services. And it took me a while to watch season 1 because I've never played the games. So I know I wasn't excited about it as you are, and my other half is quite excited by it. Yeah. So it would be, I will definitely watch it at one point because I watched season 1. Definitely want to get into that. But we've got a roller coaster of a summer. Like I said, we've got Andor cracking on. I've got everyone lined up to come on for that. Even Caleb's going to come on since he missed my anniversary episode. He agreed to make up to it and come on to cover some Andor. Obviously, Ironheart comes out end of June, and then we roll into the massive month. I think we've got 28 Years Later rocks out in June as well, which it might not be the geek thing, but I do want to kind of cover that because I do love those films. And then we've got a mammoth month of July where we've got Jurassic World Rebirth, we've got Fantastic Four, we've got Superman. So lots to come up with over the next few months. Make sure you're sticking around for all of that. JD, just one more time, tell everybody where we can find the Why So Sidious podcast.
We're at Why So Sidious Pod on all the socials, and we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever podcasts are. Nerd content, movies, books, comics. Not a lot of books, not a ton of comics, movies, and some comics, and a tiny bit of books.
Nice. How's the name of it's popped up my head? The box office draft going for you guys? Do you know?
I have lost both, so I'm not that invested because I just have lost both. But I have a good team coming this year. I forgot. I think David won a couple years ago and Caleb won this year, or vice versa. And I'm going to win next year. Just looking forward to that.
Nice. Jump over to Why So Sidious, tune in for that, or you can go back and obviously watch the episode from the January or February when you guys set it up for this year. So, and see who got whom, who picked what films. I always love listening to it because it's always funny to see who wanted to get what and then who doesn't get the films they wanted and is stuck with something else. Always a fun listen. So make sure you're jumping over it for that. I said, I'll be back next week covering the finale of Daredevil. Cannot fucking wait. Come on, Frank. Kill everyone. What I want. Of course, until next time, everyone, as always.
The Force will be with you. Always.
Thanks for tuning in to the Galactic Core Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. But until next time, go get your geek on.